financial explosion and personality-splitting. Greenspan's memoir The Age of Turbulence came out at a delicate moment. The real estate bubble burst. The subprime crisis is spreading. The answers to irrational behaviors found in the book from the perspective of psychology and anthropology. While they are ultimately rooted in human nature, the tendency to turn from excitement to fear has not only become the best footnote to this crisis, but more importantly, it also inadvertently revealed that although Greenspan has been in charge of the Federal Reserve, which represents the authority of rationality, for years, his heart is full of fear for irrationality and powerlessness for foam. What a great split this is! In fact, when it comes to human personality, most people will believe in its innate and unchanging characteristics. But from agriculture, the evolution of the three-character classic from the well-known concept of human nature is inherently good at the beginning, similar in nature, but far apart in habits to the industrial civilization's concept of human nature is like jade, and both nature and emotions can be shaped undoubtedly. Y highlights the dynamic and malleable aspect of human nature. In other words, the production and lifestyle styles under different cultures play an extremely important role in shaping the character of people living in them. For example, in the agricultural economy, the production method of relying on the weather for food and the exchange method of physical objects such as gold and silver as general equivalents bring about a social civilization characterized by honest labor and self-restraint, accompanied by the mechanized production mode of the industrial economy, and the exchange method of currency, paper currency, as the general equivalent. There has been a great expansion of human subjectivity, distortion caused by a single working method, and diversification brought about by the symbolization of value standards. Human personality has also become rich and complex. With the accelerated evolution of civilization, the evolution of this personality that originally belonged to several generations is becoming increasingly concentrated, shrinking to a generation, especially in the short span of nearly half a century. Information civilization and financial civilization have successively arrived, and profound changes in production and lifestyle, as well as various new features, are all impacting people's original thinking habits and behavioral concepts, and even subtly changing people's personalities themselves. Firstly, a major characteristic of financial civilization is irrational prosperity. From the price-to-earnings ratio to the market dream ratio, which refers to don't focus on performance or value principles, just dream-like growth expectations. For example, the stock price of LMZ, which is mainly engaged in toothpaste, once soared to yuan, because its holding of about % shares of CITIC securities gave people huge digitalization. The internet and other technologies have broken down all the walls of the world, allowing the democratization of capital, technology, and information to come at the same time. Technological progress has proven that the function of the left brain can be replaced, and technology can be more efficient. Secondly, the transformation of exchange, production, trading, innovation, and lifestyle, especially as China is facing the cross-cutting of these 5 ways, has led more and more people to shift from practical rational needs such as survival and food, to emotional demands such as entertainment and happiness. The shift from focusing on high economic growth with one hand GDP to sacrificing GDP to achieving energy conservation and consumption reduction and calculating the happiness index in various regions is clear evidence. Thirdly, the Huashan road of science and technology has been falsified, and various factors such as capital, culture, and talent are constantly being dismantled, grafted, and integrated under the impact of marketization, industrialization, virtualization, and other forms. The reallocation of these resource elements is not just a theoretical logical deduction and systematic analysis, but requires improvised inspiration, obsession with details, and creativity. Fourthly, people's faith in science and technology is quietly transforming into a reverence for art and creativity. On the one hand, compared to professions such as lawyers, accountants, and auditors, many people prefer to work in the fields of art, entertainment, and design. For example, art designers in the United States have grown tenfold in the past decade. On the other hand, creativity is becoming a global trend. Singapore's creative industry with design, art, and media as its 3 pillars, has an average annual growth rate of over 8% higher than economic growth. And Shanghai's creative industry has also accounted for 6.55% of the local GDP. In addition, the government's emphasis and cultivation on the creative industry, such as Chongqing's plan to build 20 creative industry bases in 2008, bringing the assets of the creative industry to over 800 billion by 2012, will undoubtedly accelerate the switching of the creative engine. As a result, with AGIM, left brain control is clearly outdated, and the thinking style of the younger generation has shifted from left switch from brain to right brain. The right brain belongs to the brain that can generate beauty and joy through inspiration, intuition, music, art, religion, and other aspects. It processes information through spatial dependence and intuitive simulation of creative thinking, opening up a jumping and fantasy imagination space for humans. The right brain represents personalization, virtualization, creativity, and fashion, which precisely matches the infiltration of multiple civilizations, the intersection of multiple ways, and the fusion of multiple needs under globalization. For convening. What is the financial explosion? In terms of status, China's economic reform has accumulated a huge amount of currency in recent years. The huge industrial capital has accumulated enough energy for the financial explosion. At the same time as the accumulation of domestic capital, the amount of foreign capital flowing into China in various forms is also extremely astonishing. driven by the essence of profit-seeking. Foreign capital continuously operates capital in China, evaporating others and enriching itself. The expectation of international capital, the completeness of technological means, and the superposition of concepts such as China's financial openness to the outside world have matured the conditions for China's explosive transformation from gradual to sudden changes in the financial field. Empirical analysis shows that China's billions of state-owned assets, various types of assets, private savings, and foreign exchange reserves have far exceeded the equivalent of the real economy in terms of scale. The conditions for independent operation have been met. Secondly, how does the financial explosion manifest? From international experience, there are good expressions for the financial explosion. Bad news. In the 1990s, the result of the British financial explosion was the explosion of the City of London, in a city that was not for listing. In 80%, this situation undermines the balance between power and responsibility, thus making the political philosophy of the country the opposite of the trend. The main reason for domestic terrorist incidents to occur is the lack of national social and personnel responsibility matching refers to the contradiction and conflict of interests among the three parties being greater than harmony and consistency, and the destruction of this trinity relationship still stems from the division of interests and the imbalance between enjoying power and assuming responsibility. If national responsibility is still understood as unlimited joint and several responsibility for all actions, then as much hope as disappointment, national responsibility will be more manifested in providing and ensuring equal opportunities for individuals, and providing transfer payments to some vulnerable groups. In addition, the ability to provide normal channels and platforms for communication and exchange, so that fairness and justice can effectively play a role in handling unfair events, is also a requirement for national responsibility. Social responsibility is reflected in providing individuals with opportunities and conditions for free competition. Only on this basis can individuals have the possibility of equal competition, and only then can they not complain and hate society in the event of failure. The premise for all of this is still that the country is independent of social interests and has a responsibility for national power and borders. A clear definition of the boundary involves a fundamental issue in China's current economic structure: ownership superstition. Breaking this superstition has become the top issue in deepening reform and purifying national motivation. In the process of market-oriented reform in China, the relationship between state-owned assets and private assets does indeed reflect the trend of returning from abroad and advancing with the people. However, national retreat does not necessarily equate to democratic progress, and the weight of the two is not a trade-off in the adjustment process. In fact, the current situation is that state-owned assets are constantly strengthening and consolidating, while private assets are constantly being sacrificed and hovering on the edge. Although the 12th National Congress began to put forward common ownership as the main body and other forms of ownership as beneficial supplements, the th National Congress put forward common ownership as the main body and a variety of economic sectors developed together for a long time. The th National Congress determined common ownership as the core and non-public economy as an important part of the conspiracy theory failed in the subprime crisis. It is undeniable that there have been instances in history where certain families or consortia controlled a country or the international financial system for a certain period of time, such as the Rothschild family, the Morgan Consortium, etc. However, in today's global financial integration, financial strategies between countries and the strategies of multinational consortia are highly likely to hedge or offset each other in the process of implementation, even if the conspiracy is successful. As a member of the international financial system, it is also difficult to stay out of the crisis. Just like Nazi Germany provoked World War II, but was finally destroyed by World War II. Thus, compared with honest labor and to each according to his contribution in industrial economy, financial civilization controls capital with wisdom, but the result is full of uncertainty. And the most important point is that Fukuoka once said before that story is the general equivalent of financial civilization. Its characteristic lies in identifying the differences in things and exaggerating them infinitely. One of the reasons why Britain and the United States can monopolize the forefront of financial civilization is this. For example, when Morgan Stanley opened the door to the non-performing asset market in China's banking industry in the problem faced by the Chinese banking industry was clearly how to reduce the non-performing asset problem in new loans, while Morgan mistakenly described it as how to dispose of existing non-performing assets. In the United States, Morgan's main method of disposing of non-performing assets is clearly to buy them and wait for the recovery of the macroeconomic environment. But in China, they promote the so-called popsicle theory rather than slowly melting them down. It is better to sell them quickly, and for a long time. The U.S. Congress has always regarded real trade as the entire economic issue between China and the United States, and has been working with the White House to reap the benefits one by one. So, it's not just small scammers who are scammers, but big companies, institutions, and countries. As the saying goes, behind every huge fortune lies a profound evil. The financial explosion has brought unprecedented prosperity and high-quality living enjoyment to people. But it has also laid the foundation for injustice, the seeds of sex, uncertainty, and deception, just like the industrial economy. Start from utilizing resources to being limited by them, from creating wealth to wasting wealth. And when a thing develops to its extreme, alienation arises. In this way, it seems easy to imagine the terrifying prospect of a financial civilization that is passionate about storytelling. On the one hand, the alienation of credit, The financial explosion has exploded the connection between tempting interest rates and honest products, such as the bond derivatives market. The financial crisis has not yet bottomed out, but no one mentions currency wars anymore, as they are considered war dollars in the book. The murderous and behind-the-scenes Wall Street tycoons died before they got out, while most of the survivors sold themselves to the government, were denationalized, and even did transsexual surgery to return to the bank to survive. The expected market of painful shearing by the crisis did not happen, which made people obsessed with explaining the financial crisis with conspiracy theory very frustrated. Did investment banks die of mass suicide? Just as currency war itself is a specious rumor strung together with bizarre conspiracies, even such a book is rumored to be a copycat version because the original version comes from the United States. However, the views in the book perfectly match the needs of those who have suffered heavy losses due to misjudgment of the situation, as dressing themselves as victims of uncertainty is more likely to gain sympathy. Therefore, as soon as this book was published, it was highly sought after and appeared at high-level financial seminars, serving as a shield against pressure. However, with the passage of time, the currency war has no effect on the overall situation, and it is still not eloquent enough to be used for casual conversation after meals. The essence of the financial crisis is money surplus, but in the conspiracy theory, money can be controlled unilaterally and completely. The 6 major families behind the U.S. government and the Federal Reserve control the situation, using cunning tactics to influence currency flows and earn large amounts of money, in order to achieve their goals by killing people and de-Buddha. However, the most fatal flaw of this logic is that the government and the 6 major families do not have the control they expected. They may have controlled the currency within the banking system. Once the currency flows out, it is not only difficult to track but also repeatedly transforms into capital and hot money. What is even more terrifying is that during this process the scale of the currency continues to expand. The expansion ability continues to improve, and speculative models are extensively replicated, creating a vast amount of money, book assets or liabilities registered on the balance sheets of financial institutions are in reality dependent on the price of resources and assets. The contradiction between the leveraged expansion of monetary capital and the limitation of the price rise of assets and resources will automatically close positions under the law of value. Obviously, this is the original sin of self-expansion and self-evaporation in finance. So on the one hand, the runaway of currency falsify the possibility of a holistic and long-term monetary conspiracy. On the other hand, the automatic liquidation of currency has falsified the possibility of a century-long and shocking conspiracy. Of course, it is not ruled out, though.